Hi, I'm Chris, and I come from a poor family. I had only one friend at school. Her name was Mary, and she was a nerd. The other girls didn't even notice me. But at one party, I suddenly became the center of attention. The most beautiful girl in school laughed at all my jokes all evening, and then dragged me by hand into a room. Of course, I immediately realized what was going on. In the dark, I hugged Monica and leaned down to kiss her. However, the light was suddenly turned on, and I saw that I had been about to kiss a mannequin that girls usually hang dresses on. Monica had set it all up on purpose. She and the other students had been filming me on their phones and laughing. Someone from the crowd shouted, "Our loser finally has a girlfriend!" That had everyone splitting on their sides, and I hurried home. I hoped that the next day everyone would forget about my humiliation, but the bullying continued. I complained to Mary. "I'm so sick and tired of it. Today, I will ask my parents to transfer me to another school." Mary was very upset and tried to convince me to stay, but I still talked to my parents in the evening. They promised to find a good school for me. The next day, I came to school with a poker face. I knew I only had to put up with those jerks just a bit longer, and it would all be over. I was expecting to get mocked again, but something weird happened instead. I got surrounded by high school girls. Monica and her two friends, Stacy and Jess. They talked over each other and suggested we meet after school. Of course, I immediately guessed that it was another prank, so I pushed them aside and left. But getting rid of them turned out to be quite difficult. Before gym class, I opened my locker and took out a swimsuit top. Monica immediately ran up to me and said loudly so that everyone could hear, "Ah, there it is, Chris, thank you. I've been looking for it everywhere." Then she kissed me on the cheek and left me blushing and my classmates staring at me curiously. But the strange things did not end there. Before an important test, Stacy came up to me, put some paper in my hand and whispered in my ear, "Thank me on a date." While I was writing the test, it dawned on me that she had given me the answers to it. I couldn't do it myself, so I took a chance and copied everything from Stacy's paper. Even if it was some stupid trick, it wouldn't cost me anything. You might be surprised, but after classes, I found out I had been given an excellent mark. The high school student hadn't tricked me and for some reason had given me the correct answers. Jess decided to keep up with her friends as well. She caught up to me on the way home and handed me tickets with a smile. Those were invitations to a concert of my favorite stand-up comedian. "Take them if you want. I got them for free." Jess looked at me like she was expecting me to ask her to come with me, but I thanked her and called Mary. In the evening, we came to the concert together. I hadn't laughed that hard in a long while. On the way home, Mary and I discussed the most successful jokes and kept laughing. It was only near her house that I decided to change the topic and told her about that day's strange events. "Do you think they have some kind of plan to make me look like a loser again?" "No, Chris, you're cool, funny, interesting, and cute. Any girl would be happy to date you." After that, Mary blushed, said goodbye, and quickly walked into the house. Her words made me look at the behavior of those high school girls differently. What if all three of them really had crushes on me? After all, they say girls like shy guys. Such thoughts lifted my spirits. At home, I asked my parents to not look for a new school for me yet. Perhaps everything wasn't so bad after all. But my parents had good news for me too. "Can you imagine? Your dad bought a lottery ticket and he won! Now we have enough money to buy a car." I couldn't believe that my family had gotten so lucky. My parents showed me an envelope with a bunch of dollars. I'd never seen so much money before, and I decided that my parents wouldn't even notice if I took a little for myself. When they fell asleep, I crept to the stash and took out a thin stack of bills. I decided to use that money to arrange a cool date and finally win over Monica, the most beautiful girl among the three friends. The next day, I bought some cool clothes after school, and in the evening, I took Monica to an expensive restaurant and gave her 101 roses. She was so beautiful, and the other guys couldn't take their eyes off of her. However, it turned out that was the only good thing about her. Monica chattered endlessly about clothes, TV shows, stars, and other stuff. I got tired after 10 minutes. An evening that was supposed to be one of the best ones of my life turned into real torture. I breathed a sigh of relief after walking Monica home, and in the evening, I decided to invite Stacy on a date. Also, with the money my parents had won. That night, I took some more bills out of the envelope and bought Stacy a gift after school the next day. A huge Hello Kitty toy. The girl was crazy about that cat, so she was over the moon. She got even happier after she found out where our date would take place. To surprise Stacy, I bought a hot air balloon flight with her. We looked at the tiny houses from above, drank cocktails, and chatted. She turned out to be a smart girl. She talked about books, the laws of physics, and theater. But it was all terribly boring. Next to her, I felt like a complete idiot. so I pretended that my height made me dizzy and asked the guy controlling the balloon to take us back down. Yeah, the second date wasn't as cool as I'd imagined either. The third one was my last hope. At night, I took some money from the envelope again, and the next day I gave Jess an expensive ticket to a Billie Eilish concert. The seat was right next to the stage, and there was a backstage pass included. Jess and I had spent the whole day hanging out at Disneyland. Spending time with her was really cool, if not for two things. She wasn't as beautiful as her friends, and she dressed awfully. Passers-by even turned to look at us and trolled fingers at their temples. I came back home with mixed feelings. On one hand, I didn't like any of the girls 100%, but on the other, I was happy. After all, I was the only guy in school who had 3 high school girls chasing after him at once. My classmates were terribly jealous of me. To keep it that way, the next day, I kept flirting with the girls, but I was careful to talk to them one at a time so that they wouldn't find out about each other. Mary didn't like it. After school, she snapped her fingers in front of my eyes. "Hey, wake up! Those dolls just use you for money." "No, they don't. They've talked to me before Dad won the lottery. Besides, you said yourself that anyone would be happy to date me. Or were you lying?" "No, I wasn't, but you'll still regret dating them." Mary left angry. At home, I was in for another flight. As soon as I walked in, Mom glared at me and showed me a noticeably thinner envelope. I wanted the girls to like me so much that I'd completely lost control and spent too much money. "I'm sorry, I was just going on dates, to a restaurant, on a hot air balloon, and then..." "That's enough, Christopher. You had no right to take out our money without asking." Mom scolded me for a long time and then announced the punishment. "Starting next week, you'll be studying at a boys' school. There, you will definitely not be distracted by girls." I tried to convince my parents to change their mind. After all, I'd only just become popular, but it was useless to argue. The next day, I came to school upset. The girls tried to cheer me up, but they did not bring me joy. There would be no more dates after school. I didn't even know where to invite them without money, so I decided to go home. But I heard their voices on the stairs and got curious. I squatted down and looked out behind the railing. Monica, Stacy, and Jess were arguing animatedly. "Leave him alone, he asked me out first." "But he knows what I like. That's why I got a Hello Kitty while he gave you some impersonal gifts." "Stop arguing. Let go to this old woman right now and find out everything." The other girls agreed with Jess's ideas and went somewhere. Of course, it was nice that high school girls were fighting over me, but their talk seemed suspicious to me. Who was that old woman and what did she have to do with me? To find out, I decided to follow the girls. They walked into a house I didn't recognize. One of the windows was open and I cautiously looked inside. A woman was sitting at a table by candlelight, waving her arms over a glowing ball. Monica, Stacy, and Jess watched her every move. In the end, Monica couldn't stand it any longer. "Come on, tell us, who will he choose?" The old woman coughed and said, "The ball got it wrong last time. Your boy won't become rich. He'll keep wearing ragged clothes and envying others." The girls got very upset. After they left, I knocked on that woman's door to get to the bottom of it. But she didn't open and said sternly behind the door, "I'm not accepting any more clients today. Go away." The whole thing really bothered me. The next morning, I decided to ask the girls for details. But after they heard the prophecy, their attitude towards me suddenly changed dramatically. Monica wrinkled her nose in disgust when I approached her. Stacy sent me away loudly and just pretended like I didn't exist at all. Mary had been right. None of those girls liked me. They had just wanted the money. I had to apologize to my friend for not believing her and decided to surprise her. During a break, I drove to a store, bought a bunch of sweets with the last money I had, and put them in her locker. Who would have thought that I would see something interesting in there? On the top shelf was a set of candles and the glowing ball the old woman had been using. Before I could recover from the surprise, Mary appeared next to me. I demanded an explanation, but she reacted surprisingly, emotionally, snatched the ball out of my hands and shouted, "You're a blind fool if you haven't understood anything yet. You're not just a friend to me, okay? At the party, I felt sorry for you and decided to raise your self-esteem. I told those idiots I knew a cool fortune teller who gave good relationship advice. They bought it. I asked my grandmother to play along. I bought her a glowing ball, candles, dressed her like a real psychic, and called your girlfriends. Grandma lied and said that you were going to become rich soon, so they started fighting over you. But things went too far. After your dad got rich for real, you squandered half of the winnings on dates and gifts. I felt sorry for you again. That's why I told each of the girls you were dating, 3 of them at once. So they came for a new prophecy. Mary didn't even let me say anything. She just started crying and ran away. To be honest, I was very angry with my friend. Because of her, I'd thought I was cool, while in fact, I was still a complete loser. If she had minded her own business, I wouldn't have spent my parents' money or have had to go to a boys' school. But by the evening, I had cooled down and realized she had done it all for me. Mary was the only girl who liked me not for my money, but just the way I was. I told my mom the whole story and asked for some money to cheer up my friend. A couple hours later, I was standing in front of Mary's door. When she saw me, she wanted to slam the door shut, but I took out a glowing ball from behind my back. I rolled my eyes and waved my arms in front of it. Mary Brown, today you will go on a date with a blind fool. But he promises to do better. Mary couldn't stop laughing. We had a great time that night, and we didn't have to spend a lot of money. We just walked around the park, ate ice cream, and told each other funny stories. When the weekend kept to an end, my parents kept their promise and transferred me to a boys' school. But that didn't stop me from dating Mary. I didn't see Monica, Jess, and Stacy again, but Mary said that they had found a new victim and were chasing after a new rich guy. Well, I can only feel sorry for him. Send this video to a friend who is worried about having little money. Perhaps it will give him a new perspective.